Hey, yo, come here. I got a question. When did Minecraft stop being an indie game? Stop holding the microphone so goddamn close. But yeah, when did Minecraft stop being an indie game, I think is a very valid and fair question to ask. And I know it is because one weekend, a year ago when I was working on this video and then didn't like how it was turning out, and here we are again, a friend asked me what I was doing that weekend, again the weekend from a year ago, redundant. And I said I was working on a video with the topic being Minecraft as an indie game, and they laughed at that because they're not that familiar with video games. They have healthier hobbies like going on hikes in the mountains and smoking. So saying Minecraft as an indie thing is funny because Minecraft now is this big corporate inescapable monstrosity. But you know, back when it was new, it was not only like an indie darling, it was the indie darling. And I'm gonna move from this spot because I'm just all shadow and contrast. Okay, see, now I fear I'm gonna be too in the dark. Also, I have wind now, so this audio might not even be usable, and the whole shooting it outdoor thing might be a mistake. In fact, I'm trying to stop saying shooting because it sounds aggressive. I'm trying to say filming, but will I ever? We'll see. I'm an American after all, so...
Alright, I feel the best way to kick things off and set the stage so we're all on the same page is going to be going over my personal initial experience with Minecraft, which isn't something I would usually do because trying to make an objective point out of my anecdotal experience is usually the wrong way of going about it, since, you know, I have nostalgia and bias.
It's not going to be a super objective picture, but
I feel in this instance,
it's going to be the best way of going about it. And plus, don't my anecdotal, subjective, bias, whatevers add to the objective fact of things? Is that how it works?
I don't think that's how that works, man.
So, my history with Minecraft, real quick, is I started playing the game. I can't remember where I heard about it, but I started playing the game back, must have been like beta 1.3. Birch trees were a thing, but beds weren't a thing yet. Anyway, soon after playing it, I told all my friends about it, and we all got into Minecraft. All my friends and I were still in high school in 2011, which meant obviously we had to go to high school instead of spending all day playing video games. But since Minecraft was pretty new, it wasn't like blocked on anything. There was no like firewalls or filters, so we could just go onto minecraft.net and play the game there, because back in the day, you could just play the game on the browser. Again, pretty cool. Since we got to play it at school, I set up a server around from like my home that we would hop onto so we could all play on the same world together. We creatively named it World 1. I bet you'll never guess what the second world was called. We all would play this game at school and at our homes, and like our first world was pretty... It felt like a clubhouse. Like, we were all just doing things. Nobody knew how the game worked yet. There was no like, this is the optimal way to get coal and get diamonds and whatever. It was just goofy. Our base was clearly one room that just sprawled out from there. Like, okay, so if you were building a house, how would you get to the second floor? You would include stairs or maybe a ladder, and we had that. So that was fine. But to get to the third story, you would have to go out the front, go around the side, and then climb up this tower to get to the third floor. Perfect. It felt like a clubhouse. Our little base felt like kids messing around, because that's what it was. I cherish that early time with Minecraft pretty well, because it was us just playing the game and just not... the sense of mysterious... and wonder, the sense of wonder that Minecraft had at this point was astounding. Everything was exciting, everything was new, and there's like, I've never had that feeling with the game since. It's really the only type of feeling we could have during that first time. Like, it's a fleeting feeling, because the longer you play the game, the more you learn, and the more optimizations you learn, like, you get better. So you're no longer really discovering all these new things, you just kind of know what to expect. Even if you don't know when, you know it's there.
When we sent off World 1, we burned the base down, so, which is pretty cool in the moment, but I don't have that version of I didn't back it up, unfortunately. I have this vanilla save of it with nothing done. Also, that server I ran from my house always crashed in the middle of the day. So eventually we just like bought a server. There was drama. I'll get off it was high schooler drama. He stole my diamonds.
But yeah, that was my initial experience with Minecraft. This indie game that my friends and I played on, and in my heart, I always kind of view it that way, despite everything else that's happened in the nearly 20 years that game's been out, and how different that it is now. Like, I'll always still see it as like this kind of little indie game. But again, I know in my head how incorrect that image is when it's put under any sort of lens.
Because in reality, Minecraft is anything but indie these days. Also, I don't wear glasses. What are you talking about? Retail stores around the globe are littered with Minecraft merchandise now, and I'm not going to go to a Walmart to test this out because I don't hate myself that much. I actually like myself quite a bit. I have a good self-esteem. But I wager it would take less than 30 seconds for me to find something Minecraft related in the store, right?
I didn't have to go out and look for anything, actually. We got groceries the other day, and this bunch of bananas just happens to have a Minecraft sticker on it for some reason. So there's probably some metaphor here that I could be clever about, but really I'm just like, hey, that's convenient for this video.
And I can't imagine that would be the case if it didn't have that Microsoft money backing it. You know, with that kind of money, you can just stay present at all times. Although, not to sell Minecraft too short, it was pretty successful and big before the buyout, so maybe there's like a chance I would see it on the wild still, but I'd still argue that with Microsoft behind it, it's just easier to be everywhere all at once, you know? Here's an example of what I'm getting at. Back in the day, Minecraft would rub elbows with a bunch of other indie games. One of those indie games was Super Meat Boy. Came out around roughly the same time, and Steve is a playable character in that game. And I can't find out what went into making that happen, but I can't imagine there's anything too hard. There's probably just one party reaching out to the other, and there we are. A more recent crossover is Steve in the not upcoming anymore, now out, Sonic Racing Crossworlds. This one probably wasn't as low-key to make happen. It probably involved several lawyers. Hot diggity dog. These crossovers are not the same. Like, I love Sonic. Truly, it's a curse. But Sega is an international company with shareholders and, like, healthcare. And the other is Edmund McMillan.
And Tommy Ruthennis. Sorry, I didn't. There's two people. It wasn't just one person. It's two.
And in newer versions of Super Meat Boy, Steve isn't even a playable character anymore, because I can't imagine Microsoft was willing to give that up without lots of money, or it just wasn't. So, like, how far things have changed, you know? For example, a relatively popular indie game right now is Balatro. I would say its level of notoriety right now is comparable to what Minecraft had in 2011, give or take a bit. And I would even go as far as to say that if Balatro had come out back then, it probably would have had a Minecraft cameo, as Balatro has several indie game crossovers. But there's no way Sonic Crossing Race Worlds would have a Balatro feature, the same way it has a Minecraft feature, and comparatively, Balatro would also never now have a Minecraft feature in the same way that it has other indie game features, because Minecraft has just gone that far away from its roots that, you know, it just wouldn't happen. But there was a moment in time where it probably would have happened. But like, that's what Minecraft was. That's what it was. It's just so weird to talk about in that context now, because again, that's just not what it is now. But I swear it was. Okay, so Originally, I was going to use like a Minecraft movie. Is that the name of it? I hope so. A Minecraft movie as my example of how far Minecraft has become from being like an indie product. And, you know, that is probably still the strongest piece of evidence that I have. But there's no way I'm not going to mention the Ice Cube ads I've been getting lately.
So send me, Ice Cube, a video of your Minecraft mishap and file a cube claim today.
Yeah, Ice, no Vaseline Cube on Facebook.com with his stupid Minecraft ad being like, I didn't even watch it, I just saw it. It was taken aback. I was like, what? A Minecraft movie. Don't yell into the microphone, you're holding it. A motorcycle. A Minecraft movie. I haven't watched a Minecraft movie because I kind of missed out on the moment where it would have been fun to watch in theaters, you know, with all the kids screaming, an oddly wholesome, if chaotic experience, and I envy the people that were there for that a little bit, but not too much, because honestly, I thought the movie looked pretty boring. I looked at the trailers, feel like I had seen everything the movie was going to do, and nothing would really be gained from spending time with it. A very marketable film, I guess, is the most honest way of putting it. And that's what a Minecraft movie looked like, a product. And that's product with a little trademark symbol in the corner. Which is not to diminish the efforts of those involved with making this movie happen. Not at all. No disrespect to the artists, the video people, the sound people, the boom boy, whatever that position's called. All the respect to them. But I don't feel like they were making this movie because they felt like, yes, this is my artistic passion to make the Minecraft movie happen. I think they were just in it for a paycheck. And once again, no disrespect. Money is required to function in this world. So be it. And the fact that this movie further expanded Minecraft's reach does not necessarily impact the people who made this movie. Maybe that was obvious. I just wanted to be clear that I'm dogging on the movie as a concept, not dogging on the people that made the movie. You know that. A Minecraft movie was made to promote a brand. It is a tool to sell merchandise, to make Microsoft even more money. And it's not that wanting to make money is bad. For example, I'm sure Team Cherry would much rather make money off the recently released Silk Song rather than go bankrupt. But there's just a bit of a different feeling, right? Like the profit part of Team Cherry doesn't necessarily feel like it's the end point. That the profit is just as necessary evil to keep developing games and continuing to make art. Whereas these days Minecraft, maybe more so Microsoft, but whatever, feels more like the profit is what it's in pursuit of. That's the true goal, is to make more money. Look, Microsoft really wants to make more money. It's not working in spite of the evil, it's working towards the evil. Yeah. Speaking of evil, Microsoft. Wait, I want to be closer to the camera when I say that. Speaking of evil, Microsoft. I know I'm dogging a lot on Microsoft in this video, but to be fair, they suck right now. Boy, howdy do they. Please stop calling it slop. When Microsoft got its hands on Minecraft, a few interesting things happened. Before the buyout, there was, I'm going to say, 2 camps of Minecraft. Like 2 versions, but we'll say 2 camps. The first camp is the Java version of Minecraft, which is pretty much the primary version of Minecraft. It's where most of the development happens, and it's for computers. Windows, Macintosh, Linux, whatever. They can all play together. This is like the normal version of Minecraft. The second camp is consoles, like the Wii U, Xbox 360, and PlayStation 3. They were their own exclusive version of Minecraft, so they couldn't play with the Java version, but they also couldn't play with other consoles. So the Wii U version could play with the Wii U version of Minecraft, but it couldn't play with the Xbox 360 version, and vice versa, which meant these had like closed-off ecosystems, and yeah, that's really it. There's some other quirks as well, but that's the main gist. Microsoft did something kind of cool, I think. I think maybe they're responsible for this. I'm gonna give it to them. This was a change that happened when the buyout happened anyways. Take it away, me. Now, when Microsoft got its hands on Minecraft, at some point, this changed. The first camp stuck around, but the second camp, with all its different separate versions of Minecraft, was demolished.
and in its place, a bigger campground was built. I'm getting rid of the campground metaphor. There's 2 versions of Minecraft, rather than how many versions this is.
There are 2 versions of the game now, Java Edition and Bedrock Edition. This is not a video to say that one is better than the other. I have my preference. My preference is the good one. But to be honest for a second, which is to imply that I'm always lying, the Java version of Minecraft is the original version. It's kind of crusty and quirky, but it has benefits. And the Bedrock Edition has a big benefit of being smoother and more easily playable among different people. For example, somebody could be playing on a Nintendo Switch and somebody could be playing on their computer, and I think somebody could be playing on their phone. I'll double check that one. But they could play together. With Java, it's just that, and Java's only available on PC. The benefit, though, to Java... Someone's walking their dog. I should grab my stuff. Here's the pro of the Java edition. Total freedom to do mostly whatever within reason. As in, the appearance of the player is up to the player. They could just go into a program and make their own skin, which feels morbid to say. Stop talking like a news anchor. But in the Bedrock edition of Minecraft, there is no such option. Instead, skins have to be purchased, and there is no ability to create the player's own, as far as I'm aware. And by as far as I'm aware, I mean definitively not.
Quick editing note here, I was kind of wrong about this, but not entirely. It is possible to buy like accessories to decorate your character with, but you can't like design it yourself. You can just buy pre-built things to make something out of that, but you can't just do it by hand yourself. Just wanted to clarify that real quick.
You can be Mario, you can be Sonic, you can be, I don't know, any of this, but there is no ability to just do it yourself. And I think the same thing goes for texture packs as well, or I think they're called resource packs now. Resource packs are a way to change the look of the game.
I thought I should give everyone a example of what a resource pack does. So again, this is Minecraft as it is. This is vanilla Minecraft. I feel like everyone's kind of familiar with how it looks. So take a look at this, and now I'm going to show you the resource pack I made just for this video to give a demonstration of what I'm getting at. So without further ado, I present to you Brandon Craft. As in, everything is my friend Brandon, who you don't know, but you know, the poppies, that's Brandon. The dandelions, that's also Brandon. The grass is Brandon. The stone is Brandon. And because of rotation things, you get a scary eye sometimes. The wood is Brandon as well. This sheep is actually Brandon as well. It's kind of hard to tell, but that is his face plastered over the wool. We're just gonna make that less scary. Thankfully, the wool is just wool. More Brandon. The birch wood is Brandon, and I think we're gonna go mine some Brandon out of the Brandon. You know, and oh, look at that. Oh, we get some Brandon out of that. Ain't that swell? Just a little Brandon take with you. You know, so this is evil, but you know, not everything's cursed. Like pumpkins still seem safe. You know, I think pumpkins should be. There's some more Brandon. You know, look at this. You can put a jack-o'-lantern pumpkin on it. Oh no. Oh gosh.
So that was also something up to the player, which I don't believe is really, again, is a thing in Bedrock Edition, but again, the opportunity to do it yourself is not there. It is no DIY, BIY instead. As in, it costs money to do that, and it's going to be like something like Mario. You can make the game look like Mario. Great. It just feels so microtransactional, as in a way where it wants me to spend more money, which feels weird and yucky. Again, it's not really a dig. I don't think these things matter to everyone, but it is something that puts me off of playing Bedrock Edition. I don't like it. It's just not my cup of tea. See, I'm bringing this up for a reason. There's these 2 versions of Minecraft. The Java version, which has remained updated, but true enough to what it was, and the Bedrock Edition. And I think it's because of the Java Edition I can still look at Minecraft the same way I used to. I think if it was ever destroyed. I don't think I could. I think Minecraft would become just this corporate entity to me from now and forever. Wow, look at the clouds hit the sun. It's like I'm in, oh gosh, it's back.
Interlude. Does it even matter when Minecraft stopped being an indie game? Did it stop being an indie game when Microsoft got it, or did it stop being an indie game sometime before that? Can something become so successful that it loses the indie moniker? Because even before the buyout, Minecraft had already sold 15 million copies by 2012. Bethesda, for example, owned itself when Skyrim was released, but it would be insane to call Skyrim an indie game. And a video game is still a video game regardless of where it comes from. Small, passionate, romanticized teams and huge corporate crunch teams still produce the same end result. So, does it really matter when Minecraft stopped being an indie game? Yeah. Forgive me for getting on the soapbox for a second, but with companies just owning more and more and more and attempting to be omniscient in every aspect of my life, it's getting more important to have places where they aren't present. And that's why I think it's important to think about why it matters that Minecraft is/was an indie game. Because the world's better when not everything is done by big corporations fueled by interest groups, you know? Because in theory, with indie games, you just have people with a raw passion willing to make something. Of course, I think that's kind of glamorizing the whole thing. I think that's romanticizing every single developer out there, but in theory, an indie game developer is making it out of love. Which isn't to say corporate studios don't have passionate people working there, but I'm pretty sure working on your own personal project is a lot different than working on Mario, right? And Minecraft used to be that small personal project, and now it is Mario. It's bigger than Mario, or on scale incomparable to Mario. I don't feel like having that argument. And that's an insane transformation. I don't think there's many things in this world that have that drastic of a transformation, turning into the complete opposite of what it started as. And I think there is a lot to learn from that. In a world with only corporate-approved video games, would Minecraft even exist? Would this little project have been given the green light to continue? And if it did, would it resemble what we know Minecraft as today? Absolutely not. You know, it's cool that big games exist. It's cool seeing what can be made when people are given a lot of resources. But when a creator doesn't have to deal with the stipulations that come from those resources, the world is theirs. Minecraft didn't have to ask for permission to get started. It was just a little project started by an indie game developer called Notch.
Another big change that happened when Minecraft got bought out by Microsoft is that Notch was no longer part of Mojang. And a quick disclaimer before I get into this, I'm about to talk about Notch with a lot of empathy here. And that's because, I can feel a lot of empathy for the guy as a fellow creative. However, Notch as a person has said some pretty awful things over the years. So that empathy really only goes as far as him as a fellow creative person and kind of ends there, all right? So this is not a Notch apology video. Notch kind of sucks, but I can feel for the guy. So with that disclaimer out of the way, segue. Notch started the development of Minecraft on May 10th, 2009, where it was called Cave Game for like a split second, and then it got the actual name Minecraft. The Minecraft wiki has a pretty comprehensive history of all the different versions of Minecraft, and honestly, reading through the wiki is a lot of fun and kind of humbling. It's neat because it goes from this very modest, simple little messing around project to slowly becoming the giant that it is today. It's kind of cool, and even still today, a bit inspiring. And also funny. Like one of the earlier versions, a new addition was Dirt. Dirt was a novel new thing. Dirt. Small detour that's not really relevant to anything here, but I really like what Minecraft's logo used to be. It has a better logo now, but I like that this was something you could just make in the game. There's a charm to it. As Minecraft continues to be developed and more people get interested in the game itself, Notch brings on more people to work on the game, thus forming Mojang Studios proper. And I know there's people out there that are like,
you're saying it wrong. You should be saying it like Mojang, not Mojang. And I say, you're right. But also, counterpoint, here's one of the founders saying Mojang with like that, like Mojang, not Mojang.
Mojang.
So, suck it. That was a really aggressive. I don't take it back. Suck it. My legs are falling asleep, so I'm just gonna sit like this for a second. One of the first people brought into Minecraft's development was Jens Bergensten, who I think I'm saying the last name right. I'm getting the first name right. Jens was brought in around November 2010, and when he was brought on board, Notch made a post on his blog letting Jens introduce himself to the community, sharing his history, sharing what he'd be doing, his game preferences, and his music tastes. He made a playlist that you can still check out today. That's a pretty good playlist. If you're into like EDM, electronic music, I recommend it. There's a quote from Jens in this blog post, though, that I wanted to share because it feels oddly relevant even 15 years later to the discussion I'm having in this video.
What makes this especially great, in my opinion, is that I get a chance to reconnect with the indie development game community. I've tried my best to stay in touch by visiting jams and co-organizing No More Sweden, but Mojang will be in the center of it all.
One source I pulled from for this video was the 2012 documentary, Minecraft, The Story of Mojang. The documentary primarily takes place during that initial development period of Minecraft, sometime post 20... Wow, both of them are asleep. The documentary primarily takes place during that initial development period of Minecraft and ends around the time of the game's official release. It's kind of fun in the same way that reading through the wiki is fun. It's just filled with all these older things preserved in like, a professional way. The documentary also interviews other notable people like Tim Schafer and Peter Monalou, sharing their thoughts on Minecraft's success, and they seem pretty floored by it. They seem genuinely stunned and excited that an indie game like this is really taking the world on. They're excited about what this can mean for game developers everywhere.
But that's really what this points to, is just how conventional game studios, how complacent they were with the games that they were making. And this industry desperately needs things like Minecraft to come along and say, slap us around the face and say, hang on a second, all those things that you thought were absolutely certain in your life, they're not certain anymore.
The documentary is fun to watch, but it also can feel kind of uncanny at times. Like, Mojang starts off in like this like apartment looking place, but by the end of the documentary, they're in like this warehouse adding rooms and talking about like various luxurious things they're going to add to it.
A bar will be over there. Next to it will be a pool table. Actually, we'll have the logo on that wall too.
Everyone's just like really bewildered and kind of happy but nervous about how big the game is getting and how successful it's at. And sometimes people say things that, with the power of hindsight, become unintentional foreshadowing for what would happen.
I don't want like a big office with like 150 people. Ideally for me, it would just be like me and a box of Red Bull.
As of the making of this video, Mojang Studios currently has a little over 600 employees. Minecraft was released on November 18th, 2011, and was the last time that Notch was involved with the project at all. Lead development would be handed over to Jens, and then Notch would start development on Mojang's next game, whatever the hell this is. It seemed to be this kind of sci-fi, liminal space, Quake-ish, weird sandbox-looking game. And to be honest with you, based on the info we have of this game, it looks like this game never found like a focus or purpose. And it, to me, seems like Notch also never found that purpose and just seemed to lose interest in the project because it was eventually dropped. He did make some freeware stuff though, like he made Minicraft, which was for Ludum Dare, I think, and it was actually a pretty fun little game. But Notch was in this awkward position of wanting to make video games, but also having to run Mojang Studios. And as far as making a game that would be a proper follow-up to Minecraft, is as close as it would ever get. And looking at Notch's development history, most of the games he made were these smaller scale projects. People saw Notch as this revolutionary figure who would pave the way for indie developers, but honestly, Notch was closer to a hobbyist when it came to making games. He made games that were small in scale, and he made games for himself, but one of those small games he made happened to gain a lot of traction and snowball into something much grander.
And as a result, what was something that was a passion that he pursued for himself had now turned into a business with employees and paychecks and all that other stuff to manage. I can't imagine that felt great. On November 15th, 2014, Notch announced that Minecraft was being sold and that he was leaving. To have a quote read to you from his blog. Did I get the date right? September 15th.
I don't see myself as a real game developer. I make games because it's fun, and because I love games and I love to program, but I don't make games with the intention of them becoming huge hits, and I don't try to change the world. Minecraft certainly became a huge hit, and people are telling me it's changed games. I never meant for it to do either. I was at home with a bad cold a couple of weeks ago when the internet exploded with hate against me over some kind of EU-LA situation that I had nothing to do with. I was confused. I didn't understand. I tweeted this in frustration.
Anyone want to buy my share of Mojang so I can move on with my life? Getting hate for trying to do the right thing is not my gig.
Later on, I watched the This Is Phil Fish video on YouTube and started to realize I didn't have the connection to my fans I thought I had. I've become a symbol. I don't want to be a symbol, responsible for something huge that I don't understand, that I don't want to work on, that keeps coming back to me. I'm not an entrepreneur. I'm not a CEO. I'm a nerdy computer programmer who likes to have opinions on Twitter. I love you. All of you. Thank you for turning Minecraft into what it has become, but there are too many of you, and I can't be responsible for something this big. In one sense, it belongs to Microsoft now. In a much bigger sense, it's belonged to all of you for a long time, and that will never change. It's not about the money, it's about my sanity.
I want to tell you that if someone offered to buy Niche Appreciation Club for $2 billion, which, first of all, bad investment. bad investment. But I want to tell you that I would say no, because my work means something to me. I have integrity. But I'm not being offered $2 billion right now. Like, it's easy to imagine that I would say no, but $2 billion is a lot of money. Like, I would never have to work again. I'd never have to worry about anything, really. I could help out my family. I could help out friends. I could help out strangers. I could do a lot of good things. And also, my life would be ruined in ways that I can't even begin to imagine. But, you know, it's easy for me to imagine that I would say no. But I'm also not in a complicated relationship with Niche Appreciation Club. But Notch was in a complicated relationship with Minecraft. And I can feel for him, honestly. That sounds like a really stressful situation to be in. And I know some of that stress is his own fault, right? But even if Notch was a saint that never had an issue with anyone, I still think I'd be making this video. Because what Minecraft had turned into was something he wanted nothing to do with. It sucks that Notch sold Minecraft and Mojang Studios to Microsoft, because I think it would have been really cool if the best-selling game of all time was an indie game, and that didn't require some sort of asterisk beside it. But I can't fault him either. He saw a way to escape from a world he didn't see himself a part of. But still, I can't help but wonder, what would the world look like if this buyout never happened, if Mojang remained independent? Would they still be developing Minecraft until the end of time, or would they have gone on to do new things? They had ambitions, you know. They made a game called Scrolls, and they published a game called Cobalt back when they were indie. Jens was the first person who wasn't going to get money from the buyout to be told about the buyout. And that came as a bit of a shell shock to him, because in his mind, Mojang was this indie game superstar. And now that was going to not be the case. From what I can gather, it kind of hit him in an odd way. The only thing I know for sure is that Minecraft and Mojang Studios stopped being indie when that buyout happened. And then Minecraft became this corporate entity. That's all I know. But despite that buyout, despite what Minecraft is today, there are two things about the game that still remain and will always remain independent. It's making a weird sound. And I'm trying to digitize some old family polka tapes. The audio comes out just fine, but I don't trust this sound it's making, so I'm gonna just try and figure out what's going on there. It's been a little bit since I used this thing last. So, oh yeah, the music. The music. C418, who I have to try to say their name like that because I want to say C41A because I always read it, but it's C418, was the composer for most of Minecraft's tracks. Tracks such as Sweden, Cat, Minecraft, Moog City, the classics. He did it. I don't think I really need to go over how legendary Minecraft's soundtrack is. I think just going on any video that contains one of the songs, you could go look at the comments and see people just, sharing some real thoughts and feelings about the music in a way that I can't really quantify. So that screw comes out easy. This screw is copying an attitude with me. I was like a Woody Woodpecker laugh. I don't know what the hell happened right there. Oh my god, it's so heavy. It is just like cheap particle board feeling. Oh, let's just see what it looks like when I plug it in. Is this what you came here for? Minecraft discussion and 8-track player repairs? 40 golden hits. The Shoop Shoop song, it's in his Kiss. Nah nah, hey, hey, kissing goodbye. Kissed you, Everly Brothers. Your love keeps lifting me higher and higher. Jackie Wilson. 40 golden hits. This is a tape about making out. It has to do something with like the mechanism that's going on in there. Here's a reason why I can't get deeper in here. I thought taking the back panel off, I could just lift this up. Nah, it's like screwed in on the sides and here. You see all that? I don't know how to get into that. Oh, this thing is heavy. Gosh darn, it's heavy. I think this intermission's gone on long enough. Time skip. How do you like this? Is this not a fun little setup? I got the Minecraft Volume Alpha vinyl spinning. Oh, baby, it's the aesthetic. Okay, I'll get back on track now. C418's music is so integral to Minecraft that it is hard to imagine what it would be like without it. If the music was suddenly ripped from the game, there would be a very obvious void. It would be so apparent that something is missing. But in a fun little twist, we have an example of that very sensation with Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I almost said, well, when Minecraft was brought over to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, there were no C418 songs. Not a single one. Lots of cool deep cuts, lots of cool tracks, not to disparage the songs that are there. I enjoy them, but by not having any C418 songs in it, something is clearly off. To give an example, it'd be like if the Super Mario Bros. Series didn't have any rendition of World 1-1. Doesn't matter how good everything else is. If you don't got World 1-1, the Mario song, something's gonna feel off. And that's what feels off about Minecraft and Super Smash Bros. Respectively. So, why not? Why isn't there any C418 music in Super Smash Bros.? I don't know. The only people who know are those involved with the development of the game. But if I was to wager a guess, I would say it's probably because Minecraft, and by extension Microsoft, do not own C418's music. Daniel Rosenfeld, who is C418, himself does.
I asked for a share of the game, and I didn't get a share. I got a tiny, tiny amount of salary for the music itself. The good thing, though, is that I own the rights to the music, and that's still persistent to this day.
When Daniel made the music for Minecraft, he maintained ownership of the songs, meaning that Mojang never owned them. Meaning that when Microsoft bought Mojang, they didn't buy the songs, and Daniel refused to sell the songs to Microsoft. The two parties would work together for a little while longer, but eventually they would go their separate ways, and C418 would have no new songs in Minecraft. Oh well. Microsoft brought in new composers to add more songs to the game. And not to knock these new composers. Fantastic musicians, fantastic songs. No complaints there. Pig steps a bop. But, Microsoft definitely owns these songs. Like, just looking at the album artwork for, C418 releases compared to these new releases, I think says it all.
Yeah, I bet I would. But here's the thing. If I would have said yes, I would probably be able to write so much more music for them. But I probably would not feel great about it. I chose not to sell it. And now I get the different sadness of like a messy divorce. But in return, I get my mental health and my freedom.
It's incredibly awesome to me that such a core part of Minecraft's identity, even now, despite everything else, is free from Microsoft. It does not belong to them. Just like a breeze in the wind, it is free to do whatever it wants. And maybe that's too abstract and wishy-washy, but whatever. It's fantastic. I think Daniel standing his ground really makes the heart of the game still... It's hard to put into words, but I just kind of like seeing the music say independent. It's something of like, hey, that's a win. Not everything in the world has to fall in line with these big pains, you know? It's fantastic that the music is just out there and belongs to the person who made it. I think that's great. But maybe this will age poorly and Daniel will sell all the music and make a gajillion dollars. Who knows? I hope not. But even if that happens, I can rest assured that this next part will be age poorly proof, that this part will always remain independent. No matter what happens, it can never be owned by Microsoft. That second element is the end poem. The vinyl just ended. Side A just ended. How do you like that timing, huh? Pretty good timing.
So it is 14 degrees out right now, and this morning it was 1 degree. Clearly, it is no longer a nice autumn day. It is a frigid winter morning. So this video was supposed to come out on Halloween, and a week beforehand, before that day, the 31st, I feel pretty good about that. I still needed to like fine-tune the ending, but everything was on track. But since I still needed to fine-tune the ending, I figured I might as well go back and double-check to see what I wrote, to see if I still felt good about what I had written and made sure all those sources checked out. That's what got me to check out those like old blog posts from Notch, which I found to be really useful. So it made me redo an earlier section of this video. And that also got me to check out the Minecraft documentary, which not only was good for B-roll, but proved to me that I wasn't being too rose-tinted. Like the world was just as rose-tinted back then as well. So that was adding a little bit more time to this video, but I was still pretty confident that this would make a Halloween release date. And then I got to the section about the end poem, and that was no longer gonna happen. It's cold. I'm not doing another take. So I'm working on this video and I realize I don't actually have the context for what the end poem is. So I'm going to do that real quick. Sorry for the lack of visuals here, but the end poem is the ending of the game. It is the ending to Minecraft, and it was written by Julian Go. So that's important to know. That's incredibly important to know. I have no idea how I did not write something to give that as context. I think I just kind of took it for granted that everybody knew what the end poem was and that Minecraft had an ending. But the more I've talked about this with some friends who don't play Minecraft, they're like, Minecraft has an ending? Whoa. And also, I don't give the context for who Julian is. So again, the end poem is the ending to Minecraft, and it was written by Julian Go. The ending is achieved by the player going to a dimension called the End and fighting a being called the Ender Dragon. After slaying the Ender Dragon, a fountain appears, and going into the fountain triggers the ending of the game known as the End poem. Too many ends in that sentences I just said, but regardless, it is a 8-ish minute long poem presented as two beings talking about the player. And compared to the rest of the tone of the game, I think there's like a very magical, kind of mystical feeling about this exchange. It's kind of cool. And I'm not going to read off the whole poem because it's long, but I will share an excerpt with you that I think should get the vibe and the general feeling across well enough.
Does it know that we love it? That the universe is kind?
Sometimes, through the noise of its thoughts, it hears the universe, yes.
But there are times it is sad in the long dream. It creates worlds that have no summer, and it shivers under a black sun, and it takes its sad creation for reality.
To cure it of sorrow would destroy it. The sorrow is part of its own private task. We cannot interfere.
Sometimes, when they are deep in dreams, I want to tell them they are building true worlds in reality. Sometimes I want to tell them of their importance to the universe. Sometimes, when they have not made a true connection in a while, I want to help them to speak the word they fear.
It reads our thoughts.
This sudden grandiosity really does come out of nowhere, but I've always liked this poem. I've always thought this was a great way to conclude the game. Having this cryptic and mysterious poem, I think, complements Minecraft's mysterious ambient vibes quite well. I haven't read this poem in a while because usually when I play Minecraft these days, I don't usually get to like the end of the game, but I've always had a soft spot for it. And yeah, what a lovely way to conclude a game, you know, especially having a conclusion for a game that isn't that concerned with the player getting to that conclusion in the first place. But I'm not here to talk about poetry. I said that this poem would always be independent no matter what. And statements of absolution like that are pretty bold to make because few things in this world are truly absolute like that. But the reading into the why of that absolution is what added weeks of ideation onto this video and what made me throw out the original ending. So, how come? What happened?
I wrote a story for a friend in which I liberate the ending to Minecraft from Microsoft and give it to you. Rather than sue the company or fight with my old friend who founded the company and has since gone off in the deep end, I am dedicating the poem to the public domain.
The Minecraft wiki condenses this event into a short blurb that is perfectly suitable for the wiki to do, but after reading it myself personally, I can no longer gloss over it. I was going to do the same thing, but then I got new information and new feelings, and I was like, oh wait, that's not going to do anymore. So I think the best way to go about this, once again, it took me a while to get to this point, but is to walk through the post with you together. And that will get us where I'm trying to go. But one quick disclaimer here. What I'm about to do cannot act as a substitute for reading the post. You don't have to read the post. I'll leave a link in the description. I recommend it. But I want to stress, you cannot watch this video and then use what I say in this video as if you had read the post. Does that make sense? I'm not going over everything in the post. I'm not going over Julian's closing thoughts. I'm not going over Julian's trip with mushrooms. I think that I'll say I, it's a we problem, but I'll say I need to be better about not just listening to a YouTuber who I don't know say something, having them compress that information, and then acting as if that was the same as me engaging with the information. So that's a disclaimer. I don't know. Maybe this is a slight call-out post to myself. Also, Julian's been a writer much longer than I have been, so it's like enjoyable to read rather than this. So with that said, let's go on. Also, I'm gonna stop filming in front of this. It's been a pretty good setup, but I don't want the last half of the video to be in front of the same. It's not a wall. Closet. Background.
I wrote a story for a friend, but in the end, he didn't even treat me like a friend, and I'm hurt.
So how did this abstract poem end up becoming the ending to Minecraft? Apparently this was Notch's idea, that after killing the Ender Dragon, something out of left pocket should happen. So he made a post onto twitter.com, back when that was a usable website, and asked for talented writers to step forward. Someone had recommended Julian, the two got in touch, and bada bing, bada boom. Julian was given pretty much total creative freedom in what he was allowed to write. So he played Minecraft to get a bit of a better sense of the game itself and then got to work. And when he showed Notch what he had wrote, Notch loved it. He was like, yes. Even when Julian was like, should it be trimmed down a little bit? Notch said no. He didn't want to change a word. It was great. And Julian claims that this is one of the most satisfying artistic experiences of his life, which is awesome. Honestly, this whole process sounds cool. And then Notch said, hey, you should talk to Carl about getting paid. In case you're wondering, I am playing Pokemon Stadium. I just finished
Whatever, this video is long enough, I'll make a detour.
No, you do not get another detour after your little 8-track escapade just a little bit ago. Absolutely not. He is playing Pokemon Stadium with an old team from Pokemon Yellow that he saved with like his... Oh, where is it? This thing. That's what he's doing. Okay, here we go. Can I time it right so it looks neat?
But I could also make it work. Anyways. Carl Manny was Mojang Studios CEO at the time. According to Julian's post, he studied corporate finance at California State Fullerton with a master's in business and administration. Unlike Notch and Julian, who were those artsy-fartsy nerds, Carl was involved with the business side of things. Probably has something to do with his degree. And Carl's role in the company is going to be important context for how the rest of this story is going to play out. What are you doing with your hands?
But this is where things went wrong. Because I was so thoroughly in art mode, making art with Markus, that I didn't change gears when talking to Carl. I felt like we were all friends making art, and that was the point of the conversation with Carl, was to, as friends, work out what was fair, not negotiate ruthlessly, but those are totally different things.
Julian was talking with Carl in the same way that he was talking with Notch, as a fellow creative, and as a fellow friend, as Julian puts it, but Carl was neither of those things, really. And the emails between Carl and Julian got more tense, as Julian was just being this artful, wistful guy, and Carl was getting annoyed with it, and eventually said they're just going to go with someone else if Julian didn't take the first offer. Julian, taken aback by this, said, okay, sure. He wanted to wrap things up as he felt the friendship was more important than the money. Julian was paid 20,000 euros, vaguely promised exposure for his work, and this was all done before a proper contract had been worked out. A contract that would have laid out in clear terms who owned the poem. This seems like the kind of thing that you would have signed before people get paid, but what do I know? I didn't go to business school. In his post, Julian makes it a point to clarify that Carl didn't do anything wrong here and was acting as a CEO should. But regardless, this misunderstanding of a communication is what would lead to complications down the road, specifically in regards to that contract. I don't think I can film like this. I haven't gotten past the select your Pokemon screen because that contract wouldn't be sent over until a month after Minecraft was released. Released with the end poem included. Just to stress, the game Minecraft was commercially released with the end poem included before a contract had been signed. Which is an interesting move, I gotta say. Julian now felt odd about signing the contract because the game was already out. Like, what was he gonna do now? It didn't matter if he had any reservations about the game, it was already in the game. So, whatever. He wasn't the biggest fan of how his conversations with Carl went, so he just didn't sign the contract at all. In fact, he admits that he didn't even look at the contract at the time. That is how sour this whole experience had gotten for him. But regardless of all that, Julian still took a lot of pride in the end poem itself.
So I let them use the story, even though there was no contract, because I liked Markus, and I liked the fact that a lot of people were reading the story. Sure, many millions just played in creative mode and never reached the end, but many millions played survivor mode, and did, more and more as time went by. It was a tremendous privilege to be able to reach such a huge audience with my words.
Fast forwarding a bit here, Julian would get an email from Carl in August of 2014 with the header containing a smiley face. And folks, I don't know about you, if I saw an email with a smiley face, that's foreboding. Nothing good can come from that email. I don't trust that email. Anyways, the email said that they were doing some general house cleaning, tying up loose ends, and they were like, hey, you ever signed that contract? Could you do that? And Julian was like, So he finally opened up the contract to read the contents of it. And in Julian's own words, it was even worse than he ever imagined.
The contract was for a comprehensive buyout, signing away all my rights, forever, which was exactly the thing I told Carl that I'd never do with my work.
So Julian obviously still wouldn't sign the contract, but it did beg the question, why now? Why did Carl need this contract to be signed? For Mojang to own the poem in its complete totality? To quote another indie game, that's a little sus. Hello?
Stop that.
Fair enough. Julian saw Notch and Carl as friends. Not great friends, but friends who had made something together. So why couldn't this informal permission of the poem still work? Well, let's look at the timeline. This is August of 2014, right? Do you know what was announced a month later? An announcement that would say something was being sold to something else for a significant amount of money. Information that, would change maybe how decisions are made. Do you think Julian learned about this information from Notch and Carl telling him? Yeah, so Julian didn't even find out about the buyout from Notch and Carl telling him that was happening so he could make an informed decision about his work. No, he found out about it through an online leak that the buyout was happening and now felt as if he was being tricked into signing something that he didn't have the full context for. And this rightfully pissed him off. I would even go as far as to say, and I say this as a professional here, that Notch and Carl were kind of pulling, what's the word? Right, pulling a dick move. Julian sent 2 emails, one to Notch and one to Carl. The email to Notch said, despite how much he hated the contract, if Notch really wanted him to, he would sign the contract because he felt the friendship was more important. An email to Carl told him to piss off. Julian says that neither of these emails are fully honest, though. It was 2 parts of him that were really conflicting. The part of him that wanted to protect that friendship and the part of him that was sad and angry and hurt. But when it became clear that Julian would not sign the contract, Carl said that they didn't need his signature anymore and that email from years ago was good enough and they could move on. All right. Weird, but all right.
But as a result of all this, I've had this weird knowledge since 2014 that Microsoft doesn't own the ending to Minecraft. I do.
Julian would struggle with this conclusion for a while. He would sometimes wake up in the middle of the night frustrated and angry about how conversations had gone and how things had transpired. And for a while, he assumed that this anger stemmed from him missing out on money, that he lost out on a significant chunk of change, and that was a source of the anger. But he would do some digging and not that wasn't the source. He realized that was not the source of his anger. To try and summarize his feelings, he felt that he was denying love. He felt that he was denying the love that the end poem had brought people, that he was denying the love that it could bring him, that he was just denying everything good. So after some more soul searching, Julian came to a conclusion, a way to accept the pain and move on from it, a way to heal. And as Julian puts it, this is why he liberated the end poem by putting it into the public domain. And that is Julian's story with the end poem. I guess what stood out to me when I was reading Julian's story is I was just taken aback by how shitty he was being treated. And at least that seemed to be done out of carelessness and not a malicious intent for the most part. But it still sucks to see and hear about. I guess to Notch's credit, it's commendable that Notch didn't have Julian sign the contract, even though Julian did offer to if he really needed it. But it's still lousy. And no, it was still lousy. I'm sure Notch felt conflicted about it at the time, just kind of based on what I know now. But there's probably a lesson here, right? There's probably a lesson to be learned here about why it's important to clearly communicate what's happening and what's going on. But I can't shake this disappointment, this strong sense of disappointment in what transpired between a fellow independent author, creative artist, whatever, and what was supposedly another author, creator, whatever, right? That Notch and Carl weren't just straight up transparent and like, hey, here's what's happening. And the whole, I don't know. It's all just very disappointing that this is the damage that Minecraft did, you know? I don't know. No, you can record on this memory card. Okay. I don't know what's up with that. We are just gonna have to make this work. Shoot some letters. That's dying now, even though it shouldn't be. This battery is fine. It shouldn't be dying. When did Minecraft stop being an indie game? Minecraft stopped being an indie game on November 6, 2014, when the dust settled and Mojang officially became a part of Microsoft. That was a pretty straightforward answer, actually, so what was the point of this? That reminds me, I gotta get the right glasses on. I've been thinking about this question for a while now, and I keep coming back to it. Longer than I expected to, because everything kind of sucks at the moment. And the more I end up thinking about this question, I've spent around a year with this video, on and off, admittedly. This is not the ending I wrote. Hang on. What? What? Oh, nothing is working right now. Oh, what SD card is in here? Well, that doesn't bode well. Oh, jeez. Maybe this isn't meant to happen tonight. Maybe I'm not meant to film this ending. Batteries aren't working, SD cards aren't working. I've been thinking about this question for a while now. A while. And, you know, I've had reasons for that. Sometimes things are just a bit more distracting than I would like, for better, lighter reasons, and for more concerning reasons. So, as I was trying to say, as I was rehearsing, I've been thinking about this video for a while and this question of when did Minecraft stop being an indie game? Originally, this video was gonna go along the lines of, you know, did Minecraft stop being an indie game before it had sold however many copies it had sold, right? Had it become so successful that, you know, it was no longer actually an indie game before the buyout. That's why I compared it to Skyrim earlier. But, you know, the more I spent on that train of thought, the more I noticed it wasn't taking me anywhere. I was just going in this endless circle around the destination. And the only way I was going to reach that destination was to get off the train at the next stop and just start walking towards it. So let's do a little exercise. I'm going to do a little exercise. When did Minecraft stop being an indie game? Let's wander deeper. I guess it bothers me that Minecraft isn't really included in the discussion of indie games these days, when I feel like it should be more often included in that discussion. But why? Let's wander deeper. I guess it's because it feels a bit revisionist to not mention Minecraft as like how important of an indie game it was. But why? Let's wander deeper. Because of what Minecraft has become these days. It's, you know, it's in the celebration of indie games, Minecraft is so far removed from it that let's wander deeper. So what are we celebrating? I assume we're celebrating the human spirit, the little spark that makes people want to create things, that little thing that makes people want to bring something into the world. Because to me, that's one of the best parts of getting to exist. But let's wander deeper. Because no matter how much the world sucks, and god damn, the past 2 years I've been entertaining this thought, it's really sucked. It's just really sucked. I still find it incredibly moving that people want to express a part of themselves, that they still want to contribute to this world in some kind of meaningful way. But why is that incredibly moving?
Because I struggle to express myself through creation. I struggle to create consistently. I struggle to make things. And as a result, I just end up feeling frustrated with my own existence and end up envying others, because not envying their success, not envying their creations, their accolades, anything of that. I just envy the fact that they're doing what they want to do, which is creating. Which I, again, struggle with. I either get distracted, I take too long on things, I change my mind about how it's going, or I want to do 20 different things at once. I just sometimes struggle to create, and that makes me feel frustrated. So seeing how Minecraft ended up, which isn't really expressing itself anymore, I don't know, I guess it just kind of struck a nerve. But why is that? Let's wander deeper. This question has forced me to honestly acknowledge the passage of time and look at it for what it actually is. Do you remember at the start of this video, like an hour ago, when I was talking about my first Minecraft world that I played on with my friends? The one that had that base that we burned down, that we had no backup of? Well, I was slightly lying. Not entirely lying, but I was slightly lying. We did not have a backup. That world is truly gone, but we did have a couple pictures, but more importantly, we had a video giving a tour of the base and the ignition of the base. The video is in classic 480p hypercam quality, and my microphone's audio is so quiet that until recently, I had no idea that I was even speaking in this video. And for some reason, I have a texture pack on that I didn't turn off, so none of the assets are one-to-one. It kind of adds to the charm in a way, but that's all we had. And based off that video, I have rebuilt like the structure of that base a few times, but never the entire base. And I really wanted to do that. So some friends and I got together a year ago, and based off that video and the screenshots we had, we rebuilt the base. Yeah, I'm pretty impressed with how faithful of a recreation it is. The whole structure might be like a little bit off, but like all the buildings are like one-to-one, and the distance between them is also one-to-one. So it's as close to perfect as it could probably get. But I'm still impressed. I even rebuilt the tree fort, and that was a nightmare. I had to like boost the contrast on an old video. It's probably still a bit off, but it's also close enough. So let me give you a very brief tour, not the whole everything we did, but let me give you a tour of the main base. So this was our base, and right off the bat,
There's this bridge going into it, which originally was just a wooden plank that I put down, and then Dakota asked, like, hey, could I make this look better? And I said, yeah, go for it. And then she built this, and I was like, wow, that's way better. I always love Dakota's builds. But yeah, so here's our base. I won't go over everything, but you know, you have a watchtower up here, you have a sugarcane farm here, you have a pissing pig. I hated this thing. I still hate it. It's so ugly, it's so bad. It doesn't even look like a pig. But, you know, I think it's funny that it's here now. It's so bad. And then up here you have Logan's tree base, which I'll get into later. But anyways, here's the main base. So you go into the lobby. In the lobby, this is clearly what was the original room that just sprawled out into what became the base. And this wall over here was 2 blocks thick for some reason, and that threw me off when I was rebuilding this. To the left is our friend Weston's room, which we put TNT in, so when he would go to bed, because that's where his bed was, it would explode. But he found it, so that prank never worked, but he was still down to get blown up when we burned down the base. Which I know doesn't sound that cool, but like, at the time, it was pretty cool that he was willing to go down with the base. Going from there, across the lobby, hall, whatever, you had Logan's room, which was cool. I had this water floor glass aesthetic going on, a big skull poster. This was a cool room. Unfortunately, whenever Logan would sleep in this bed, monsters would spawn and just kick the crap out of him. So eventually he moved out of this room and built his like tree base over there. So this room sat abandoned, but you know, it's still a cool little room, I gotta say. Leaving Logan's room over here is a basement, and get ready, pretty basic. There's just some chests, furnaces in the wall. Yeah, nothing much to say. It's a basement. Wow. The second floor, first off, let's show Dakota's room. This was her room. It overlooked the base. And yeah, it's a pretty simple room, but it had carpet in the form of wool blocks, which was kind of neat. And through this painting, you can get to my room. I put a door between our 2 rooms so we could sneak. It was cool. Secret painting doors are cool. Not much to say about these rooms, they're fairly simple, but there's a sign, you can't copy and paste the world. So when I was making this server, Logan said something like, you have to copy and paste the world over. And in the group call, Dakota said, you can't copy and paste the world, which Logan groaned at. But I always thought that was a pretty funny moment in quotes, so I'd always put this sign somewhere in my rooms when we would play Minecraft, and it started off as amusing to Dakota, and then I'm pretty sure it got a bit more annoying, but now I think it's worked back around to insufferably endearing. I got it embroidered too. I had a friend make a stitch embroidery of it for her as well. It's kind of a cool quote, but it's really just a dumb little joke. So anyways, that's the second floor. Now I get to show you how to get to that third floor. Do you remember it? So you get to the third floor, you have to go out the door, around the side, and then you get on top of here and you climb this ladder, and there you go. And that's how you get to the third floor. There's clearly no better way that could have been done. So hopping up here, to the right we have Kevin's room. And Kevin, again, they don't have wool carpeting, see that? But they do have ceiling access. And then up here was Kevin's tree farm. And it made the base from the outside look kind of nice, having just these trees grow out of the top of it. I thought so. But yeah, this is where he was a lumberjack up here. I don't know what else you want me to say. And then across the hall from Kevin's room, you had Brandon's room, which was above my room. Very simple. He usually had a bunch of chickens in here. Like, we'd throw chicken eggs in here, and chickens would sometimes pop out of the eggs, so this room would just be filled with chickens. I might be imagining that, but it feels right. But he had a little skylight, so yeah. Again, there's not really much to these rooms, but yeah, that's pretty much the tour, except for this right here was a little balcony that overlooked the rest of the land, I guess. My little brother also played on this world, but I don't know what he was doing. He didn't play with us. He just went into the wild and did his own thing, so I'm pretty sure our world, all these trees have been cut down. But like I said at the start, this is a recreation. This is not the original world. Some things are probably a little bit off, but hey, that's okay. But, you know, it's interesting. Like, playing on old Minecraft worlds is a form of time travel. Follow me here. Once these worlds are done being played on, they remain frozen in time, becoming a reflection of who we were when they were active. And when I play on these old worlds for a moment, I get truly taken back to the past. I get to walk around in a world that is unconnected to the one I currently exist in. But being a time traveler means that eventually my presence in the past creates a paradox, so at some point I'll get ripped back into reality. A reality that's constantly changing and is much more complicated to exist in. But it's not that the past was simpler. The past was also complicated and messy at the moment, but it looks simpler. It's all set in stone and it's easy to look at, but it's not just that. The past in reality in the world wasn't simpler. I was simpler. Minecraft came out when I was 18, and when I was 18, I didn't really care about anything. I was arguably at my most arrogant, angstiest, and antisocial phase of my life. I wanted to make videos and art, and I thought the only way I could keep doing that is if I got views or attention, because that would give me the funds and validation to keep going. And I thought that was the only way that I could make that dream happen. And that was a foolish belief to have that I stubbornly held on to for a while. It was a belief that was made up by only looking at the work of successful creators rather than looking to see what my up-and-coming peers are doing and reaching out to them. As a result of this mindset, I had little room to grow as a person. I would try creating videos or making music. I even tried making a video game, but none of those endeavors got far. I would drop them once I got frustrated with their progress, and I had no one to turn to for help because of that belief. That foolish belief that validated the isolation that made me feel safe from the world, because I was afraid that if I reached out, I would get hurt. I was afraid that I would get mocked for my lack of skill, or maybe I would say the wrong thing to someone and that would hurt them and I would feel guilty about that. Or even worse, I would make a new connection, and that one scared me the most of all. After all, Notch got hurt from Minecraft, Jens got hurt from Minecraft, Daniel got hurt from Minecraft, Julian got hurt from Minecraft. This was not a painless experience to bring into the world. I kept relationships at arm's length because I was afraid of the inevitable heartbreak that would happen, because it's inevitable, right? Like, best case, if you know someone and you love each other till the end, at some point someone has to die, and that mortified me. That really freaked me out. I had created a rather shallow existence to sulk in, and it sucked. My worldview has thankfully changed quite a bit since I was a lousy teenager. I have grown a lot kinder and more patient since then, and accepted that it's okay to get hurt. And it's not like the pain has become easier to manage, but I've grown more familiar with it. And through that familiarity, I have an easier time grieving with it. And it's because of that acceptance that it's easier to let love into my life. And as a result, my life has become more rich and fulfilling. I have found deeper connections. I've had more opportunities to learn something new by talking with others or being more adventurous to try something out. And, heartbreak is inevitable, but that's the cost required for love. And I've learned that that's okay. To love is to live, and I want to live. I'm sorry that I keep clapping. But despite that, sometimes I still find myself keeping the world at arm's length. Despite what this series might give you the impression of, I am actually an intrinsically negative person with an apathy-laced cynicism that yearns for the downward spiral. But that mindset isn't right, and I know that. It's just a lazy answer that gets validated anytime something goes wrong, and it's fairly easy for things to go wrong. So I strive not to be that person and instead be someone that I want to be. So what this series ends up being for me is an exercise, I guess, in trying to be a better person, or trying to expand how I view the world. And this is a way of, I guess, expressing it. Expressing who I want to be, at the very least, or who I'm trying to become. But, that is still a part of who I am. And it's easy to take that part for granted and not keep an eye on it all the time. Which results in, as I said a little bit ago, struggling to create things and feeling frustrated And that struggle comes out of fear. Fear of pain, a fear of rejection, a fear of something. So, let me ask it again. When did Minecraft stop being an indie game? Minecraft stopped being an indie game on November 6, 2014. A little under 12 years ago when Microsoft bought Mojang along with Minecraft. Minecraft used to be this thing that people got really excited about. Took a lot of pride in even, made them feel like they were part of something bigger. And now, I can hardly recognize what it once was in contrast to what it's become. I don't know. I have one more quote to share with you. I'm sorry, there's been too many quotes in this video, but I have one final quote to share with you. It's from Julian's post, and it's the part that, when I was reading it, it's what made me kind of rethink about what I was doing. So I think it's important. I'll read this one off even, so. Bear with me. I can't memorize this one, so you're just going to see me reading a screen for a second. I hope that's okay. Indeed, I had actively hidden away from love. I frequently got messages that told me how much the end poem had meant to people, that it had gotten them through a divorce, made them cry, helped them climb out of their depression, blown their minds in ways that changed their lives. All kinds of beautiful, generous, vulnerable messages, but often too overwhelmed by emotion, both theirs and my own conflicted, unresolved emotions by the whole mess, I wouldn't even reply. I had to complete the circuit, let it flow. Well, this was highly ironic. The universe was, rather forcefully, trying to get me to take my own advice. The advice that I'd given to millions of strangers back in 2011. It was urging me to finally accept and act upon the most difficult line in the end poem, the one I had struggled with the most when writing it. The universe loves you because you are love. When the universe dictated that line to me a decade earlier, I didn't even want to write it down. And having reluctantly written it down, I immediately wanted to strike it out. Because I felt it wasn't true, that there was too much suffering in the world. People, including me, were too flawed. But the universe didn't give a shit about my objections. It informed me firmly that the line was to stay in because it was true. Julian was holding on to a lot of the pain from what had transpired, but he was also trying to avoid that pain. And I don't know about you, but it seems kind of difficult to both hold on to something and avoid it at the same time. And in that struggle, I could see myself. I could resonate with what he was saying. And, eventually he found a way to move past that. And I feel like I have, but not entirely. And if I don't figure that out, there's a consequence. That consequence is that everyone else will eventually move along. Friends, artists, creative, whatever. And as they're moving away, I'll be back here, alone, just by myself. And that will lead to a very lonely existence. But I should also start giving myself some more credit. As a teenager, I had these delusions about how creating had to operate and how it had to work. That the only way to create art and be happy was to be successful on a large scale. But clearly that's not the case. In fact, looking at Minecraft, that was very successful. And clearly it did not guarantee happiness. And I would not call myself successful on a large scale. Just look at the video views this video is going to have. Redundant. But, if you're watching this video, that means I made this video. I made this video that you were watching. And the only way that can happen is if I made the video. And not only that, but I'm kind of nervous to be making this part of the video. It's rather honest and raw and vulnerable, but I think it's important for the message I'm trying to get across to be that open. So I'm powering through that fear I have inside me. And I couldn't have made something like this when I was a teenager. I lacked the world experience and the skill set to pull it off. But more importantly, I'm making videos. I'm doing the thing I've wanted to do since I was a teenager, right? I've made music with friends. I've been making artwork on the side, and I've been making videos. I'm doing it. I'm going to start taking more pride in that. And plus, Daniel is still making music today. In fact, he had just recently worked on a game that came out called Wanderlust. Julian is still writing to this day, not just getting back into game development, and Jens is still the lead programmer of Minecraft to this very day. Despite all the turbulence that happened, hope I said that right. Despite everything that happened, people are still making things and moving forward, and I think that's wonderful. Minecraft. People were excited to be a part of what you once were, maybe for the same reasons I was excited to be a part of what you once were. And it's okay that you were no longer a part of that community, that you no longer served that purpose. That's fine. There were works before you, and there have been works after you that have continued to inspire both me and those around me. And I'm grateful for that. But I think it's time that I stopped looking at you for what you once were and started looking at you for what you are, and seeing what lessons I can glean from your journey as a game, going from an indie game to a major corporate entity. I think there's more value in taking that insight rather than holding on to a mindset, viewpoint that does not exist anymore. So, yeah. I long to be someone who creates in this world and brings the things he wants to bring into the world, into it. That was clunkily worded. I don't care. I'm just happy to be doing what I'm doing, and I learned a lot by looking at Minecraft's journey, and will continue to grow from that, as I'm sure all those involved with it have as well. And I think a very important step for me now is to stop looking at you for what you once were and accept you for what you are.
What Minecraft is a complicated game. Sorry. It's a game that's made a lot of cool decisions, a lot of lousy decisions, things that makes the game better, things that makes the game harder to enjoy. But regardless of any of that, it still was an important game to the indie community. And it served as an aspiration for players and creators alike, something to look up to and be like, yeah, I can do it now. But Minecraft is now so far removed from that context. It is no longer even remotely a part of that scene. But that's okay, because in its place, new creators have shown up that have made new works that are exciting and inspiring and just keep the world feeling fresh. People that are making things and moving past any pain that might happen because they want to do what they love. And as the poem says, the universe said, I love you because you are love. Minecraft was an indie game. Bye. I did it in one take, and I got the sun. Oh, it's bright.